Miss April.
Hi, Hezekiah. Hi, Billy.
Hi, Miss April. What do we get to learn about today?
We're going to learn about Saul.
Oh, after helping our neighbor, Mr. Walker, and my papa replace their fences, I don't want to see another handsaw for the rest of my life. It took forever to cut through all them posts.
Billy, I'm not talking about a handsaw.
Oh, I don't reckon I know any other kinds of saws.
Oh, there's circular saws and table saws and miter saws and jigsaws.
Oh, does that one make puzzles?
No, it's a saw with a reciprocating blade for cutting around curves.
Guys?
What's the recipe creating blade?
Reciprocating. The blade moves back and forth in a straight line.
Guys?
Yes, Miss April?
This is a good discussion about saws, but I didn't mean we were learning about cutting tools today.
Oh, I must have heard wrong. I thought you said saw.
I did, but I didn't mean an S-A-W saw. I meant S-A-U-L, a person named Saul.
Oh, are we going to learn some more about that guy from Tortoise?
I think you mean Saul or Paul of Tarsus. But no, the person we're talking about today, who was also named Saul, lived hundreds of years earlier than Saul of Tarsus.
Oh, marvelous. I can't wait to learn something new.
Let's first go back to who we talked about last week. Do you remember who that was?
It was,
I wasn't here last week. I was at space camp.
Oh, Hezekiah, that reminds me. Miss April said that God's given a name to all the stars.
All 200 billion trillion?
Well, we don't know exactly how many there are, but there are a lot. And Psalm 147 says that God counts the number of the stars and calls them all by name.
Wow.
Seems like there's only a dozen or so whenever I look up at them. Some of those turn out to be airplanes.
Well, that's just because we live in an area where there's a lot of street lights and light from the city. All of those lights keep us from being able to see all but the brightest stars. If you were to go far away from any man-made lights, you would see that the night sky is filled with stars.
Oh.
Getting back to our original subject, have you remembered who we learned about last week?
I'm still trying to look it up in my brain. What does it start with, Miss April?
An S. His mom dedicated him to the Lord, so he grew up serving at the tabernacle.
Oh, Samuel. Samuel.
Why did you say it like that?
Oh, 'cause the L on the end means God.
That's right. The name Samuel means herd of God.
Not herd like a bunch of cows. Herd like what you do with your ears.
Got it.
When Samuel was old, he made his two sons Joel and Abijah judges in Israel, but they weren't honest.
What do you mean?
They would take bribes. Rather than deciding based on what was right or wrong, they would decide in favor of whoever gave them some money.
Oh, goodness.
That's kind of like the priest, Eli's bad sons.
Yes, you would think that since God had punished Eli's sons for doing wrong things, they would have been careful to do what's right.
What happened to them?
The Bible doesn't say, but because they were so dishonest, the people of Israel asked Samuel to give them a king.
Why?
The people didn't want Samuel's sons to be their leaders after Samuel passed away. They also saw how all the other nations had a king, so they wanted one too.
They didn't have a king before then?
No. After Moses led them to the edge of the land that God had promised them, and Joshua helped them conquer the land, they had judges that were their leaders.
Did Samuel give them a king?
Well, he didn't want to, so he prayed to God and asked him what he should do. Prayer is always the best thing to do when you aren't sure about a decision you need to make.
I'm trying to decide what I should study when I get accepted into MIT University. Quantum physics, neuroscience, thermodynamics, aerospace engineering. There are so many good choices.
You should definitely pray and ask God which choice you should make.
I'm trying to decide if I want cookie dough or Oreo cookie. My papa's taking me to get ice cream after school on Monday. Oh, maybe I can get 2 scoops.
Well, that would solve the dilemma.
What did God tell him about giving them a king?
Oh, Miss April, since you said last week that we're starting a series about the kings of Israel, I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that they got a king.
Yes, God told him to give them a king. Samuel had been disappointed that the people no longer wanted him to be their leader, but God said that the people weren't rejecting Samuel, they were rejecting him.
What? How were they rejecting God?
Because God had been leading and guiding them since he had freed them from Egyptian slavery. They also said that they wanted a king to fight their battles, but God had been fighting for them and helping them defeat their enemies.
Oh yeah, God knocked down all them walls of Jericho for them.
Yes, and that's just one of many examples of how he'd helped them. Also, the people of Israel told Samuel that they wanted to be like the other nations that had a king, but they weren't supposed to be like all the other nations.
Why not?
Because Israel was God's chosen people. No other nation had been formed by having God intervene and help them go from being a small family in a foreign country to becoming a nation of millions with land of their own.
I don't know why they'd want a king.
Yes, God had been taking good care of them. He had Samuel warn the people what a king would require of them.
Like what?
Like how the king would make the people's sons and daughters work for him, how he would take some of their land for himself, and would take away some of their animals.
Oh, goodness. Did they still want a king?
They sure did. So God told Samuel to anoint Saul to be their king.
What does anoint mean, Miss April? Oh, wait, did you say annoy?
No, I said anoint. It means to rub or pour oil in someone's head. Prophets, priests, and kings were all anointed this way to show that they were chosen by God for a specific purpose.
My little brother poured baby oil on his head one time to slick his hair back like our Uncle Skeeter. His hair was greasy for weeks. Oh, and it got all over the carpet in our bedroom, and I had to shampoo the carpet. Now that was annoying.
Did you know that there's someone who's a prophet, priest, and king?
I might. Give us a hint, Miss April.
His name starts with a J.
Joshua?
No, Joshua wasn't a prophet, priest, or king.
Oh.
Jesus?
Yes, that's why he's called the Messiah and Christ. Those are Hebrew and Greek words that both mean the anointed one.
Oh, fascinating. Can we learn some more Hebrew and Greek words, Miss April? Oh, maybe we could conjugate some of the verbs.
I think we should get back to our story about Saul.
Yeah, let's do that instead of confiscating verbs.
The Bible says that no one was more handsome than Saul in all of Israel. That's quite a statement.
Well, how many people were there? Being the most handsome is more significant if there are many people you're being compared to rather than just a few.
Oh, my mama says I'm her most handsome grandson with auburn-colored hair, who's in the 3rd grade, who's named Billy.
Well, there were a lot of people in Israel at that time. The Bible says that right after Saul became king, there were 330,000 men in Israel who came to fight in just one battle against the Philistines.
Oh, wow, that sounds like a whole big bunch.
Saul was also very tall. His shoulders were at the top of everyone else's head.
How did Samuel find Saul to know how to pick him as the king?
He didn't have to find him. God had Saul come to Samuel.
What? How did he do that?
Well, it started with some lost donkeys. Saul's dad sent him and one of their servants to go look for them.
My papa's got some donkeys. They help protect his cows from coyotes. You reckon that's why Saul's dad had them too?
Maybe, but remember, in Bible times, people would also ride donkeys to get where they needed to go.
Oh, right.
Did they find the donkeys?
No, they looked for them for 3 days until finally Saul decided they better return home before his father stopped worrying about the donkeys and started worrying about them. But then the servant had an idea.
What?
To go to the prophet who was at a city close by to ask him if he could help them find the donkeys.
You mean to help him go out looking for the donkeys?
No, he was a prophet. That means that he could ask God about the donkeys. God would speak directly to the prophets.
Oh, that's like how God talked to Samuel when he was little.
Yes, God continues speaking to him throughout Samuel's life.
Miss April, was Samuel the prophet they went to see?
Yes, good job figuring that out, Hezekiah. God had already told Samuel the previous day that the one he should anoint as king would be coming to him, and when Saul arrived, God told Samuel that he was the one.
What about the donkeys, Miss April?
Before they even had a chance to ask, Samuel told them that the donkeys had already been found and were already safely back home.
Oh, good.
Samuel poured oil over Saul's head to anoint him as king, and a week later he presented him to the people of Israel.
Was he a good king, like Josiah and my namesake, King Hezekiah?
Well, he started out good. At first he was very humble. He didn't even think that he deserved to be the king. He also rallied the 330,000 men I mentioned earlier to rescue a whole city in Israel that were under attack by the Ammonites.
Oh, I bet they were a whole bunch scarier than the Ammon days.
Billy, an Ammonite was just a person from the country of Ammon, just like a person from Israel was called an Israelite.
Oh.
Sadly, though, after just 2 years of being the king, Saul disobeyed God.
Oh, goodness, what did he do?
Before going into battle against the Philistines, he was supposed to wait 7 days for Samuel to come and make an offering to God. The Philistines had a huge army, and the Israelites were scared of them. As Saul waited for Samuel, more and more of the soldiers in Saul's army left and went to hide.
That doesn't sound like the kind of guys he needed in his army anyway. Soldiers are supposed to be brave.
Did Saul keep waiting for Samuel?
No. When Samuel hadn't arrived by the 7th day and people kept leaving the Israelite army, he decided to make the offering himself.
Oh, it was good that he was making an offering to God, right?
And he was being practical. If he waited any longer, he wouldn't have an army anymore.
Well, he had disobeyed God, and his actions showed that he didn't really trust God.
Oh.
Years earlier, God had helped a man named Gideon defeat another huge army with only 300 men.
Good grief.
Just as Saul finished offering the sacrifice to God, Samuel showed up.
Uh-oh.
Was he mad?
More like disappointed that Saul hadn't obeyed God. He told Saul that his kingdom wouldn't last. Usually, a king's son becomes the next king, and then his son, and so on. But Saul's son would not be the next king of Israel.
At least he could still be the king.
Yes, until he disobeyed again.
Oh, goodness, what did he do next?
He was supposed to completely destroy everything connected to their enemy, Amalek.
Why?
Because many years earlier, they had been the first to attack the Israelites when they came out of Egypt, and they did this when Israel was tired and weak.
So he didn't do it?
No, instead he spared their king and kept all of the good stuff, but anything of no value, he destroyed.
Well, he kinda obeyed.
Yeah, but let me give you an example of why that's not good enough. Billy, let's say both of your parents are going next door to Hezekiah's house for dinner.
Oh, Mrs. Washington makes the best mashed potato soup. I hope she's making that.
No, they've ordered pizza for you two, and they tell both of you to stay at your house, Billy.
Oh, I hope it's pepperoni with cheese in the crust.
And extra cheese on top.
It is.
Oh, is Beulah going to Hezekiah's house or staying with us?
She's over at Steffi's house.
This is sounding like a pretty good night.
Well, before they go next door, Hezekiah's little sister arrives, and your parents give you some instructions. You guys are to do your homework before playing video games, and you're to keep an eye on your little brother and sister.
Oh, I knew it was too good to be true.
I can help you do your homework.
Okay.
And we can put on some cartoons.
Yeah, or some Bible story puppet shows on YouTube. Booger Ray loves them.
In a couple of hours, your parents return home, Billy. The house is still neat and clean. You even done the dishes, and both of you have all of your homework completed. But neither of you have any idea where your little brother and sister are.
Oh, goodness.
Where could they be?
I don't know, but they're not in the house.
Oh, goodness.
Do you think your parents would be pleased with you guys?
No.
But you had kind of obeyed because you did your homework.
I reckon kinda obeying ain't really obeying.
No, it isn't. Saul pointed out how he had kept some of the best sheep to make a sacrifice to God, but Samuel told him that obeying God is better than sacrificing to him. That's like you guys cleaning the kitchen in my example.
What you mean?
Even though you had given up some of your free time to do the dishes without even being asked, you hadn't done all of what you'd been told to do. In this case, the most important part.
Did Saul get in trouble?
Like we would if we lost our little brother and sister?
Well, he was no longer the king as far as God was concerned.
He got fired?
Yes, he continued being the king for a while longer, but God no longer considered him to be the king. Samuel gave Saul a final message from God.
What was it?
Well, first, he had to track him down to deliver the message. Saul had gone to a town named Carmel and set up a monument to himself.
A monument? To himself?
Yes, I guess he wanted the people in the future to know about his great victory. He didn't seem to realize how serious it was that he disobeyed what God had told him to do.
Oh, speaking of monuments, Hezekiah, I learned this week that your family has one.
What?
In that place that's named after your family? Where the White House is? My teacher showed us a picture of y'all's monument. It's real tall and pointy, like an upside-down pencil.
Are you talking about the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C.?
Right, the Washington Monument.
That's to commemorate George Washington, our first president.
Oh, I don't know what commiserate means, but wow, you had a president in your family?
Billy, commemorate means to remember or honor someone.
And I don't think I'm related to George Washington.
Oh.
Hey, why don't we get back to King Saul?
Yes, did Samuel find him?
Yes, and when he did, he gave him God's message for him. He told him that when Saul had been little in his own eyes, God had made him the king.
Wait, I thought you said he was tall.
He was, but Saul originally had a low opinion of himself. When Samuel had first told him that he was going to be king, Saul had pointed out how he was from the smallest tribe of Israel and the smallest family within the tribe of Benjamin.
Oh.
On the day he was to be made king in front of all the people, they couldn't even find him because he was hiding. They had to ask God to show them where he was.
He sounds real modest.
Yes, but that didn't last. In a few short years, he was choosing his own plans over God's and making a monument for himself.
It's like he had a problem with pride, like King Nebuchadnezzar when we were studying Daniel.
Exactly. And that's why Samuel finished by telling him that since he had rejected the word of the Lord, God had rejected him as king. As Samuel turned to go, Saul tried to stop him by grabbing the edge of Samuel's robe, and it tore.
Oh, my mama could sew that right up for him, like it ain't ever been ripped. I ripped my baseball breeches the other day sliding into home plate. Mama fixed them for me.
Well, Samuel told him that just as his robe had been torn, the Lord had torn the kingdom of Israel from him that day and given it to another person. This was someone who was after God's own heart.
Seems like I heard that phrase before.
Miss April, did you tell us that's what God had said about David when you were telling us about David and Goliath?
That's right, Hezekiah. We're going to be learning some more about him next time.
Oh, stupendous.
From that day on, Samuel didn't see Saul again until Samuel passed away.
Oh, wow.
There are some lessons we can learn from today's story.
Is one of them to obey God?
Yes, that is the most important one. We should always do what God tells us to do rather than what other people want or even what we want to do.
And kinda obeying ain't really obeying.
Yes,
What's another lesson, Miss April?
that we shouldn't try to be like other people.
I don't remember anything about that one.
The Israelites asked for a king because they wanted to be like other nations. They weren't supposed to be like other countries. They were supposed to be the unique, special nation that God had made them.
Sometimes I wish I was better at school like Hezekiah.
Well, God's gifted Hezekiah with that ability, but he didn't want two Hezekiahs. He also wanted a Billy, and He's made you different from anyone else with unique talents and abilities.
Oh,
God has made everyone special and unique for a special and unique purpose.
what about twins? Not twins like me and Beulah, but identical twins.
Even identical twins aren't really identical. They may look the same, but their personalities, talents, and abilities are different. Even their fingerprints are unique.
What?
Is there another lesson, Miss April?
Yes, we should allow God to be the ruler of our lives. Israel wanted a king to lead them, but things would have been so much better for them if they had continued to trust God to lead them. Since God knows the future, He can save us from making a lot of mistakes if we'll let Him into our decision making.
I'm gonna do that.
Thank you for teaching us about King Saul.
Oh, I hope it's snack time now. I keep thinking about that pepperoni pizza with cheesy crust you mentioned earlier.
Sorry, Billy, we only have brownies and milk today.
Miss April, would it be okay if I went next door and peeked in on my little sister? That example you gave about her getting lost makes me want to go check on her.
Sure, but the preschool class is very secure.
Oh, I know. I just want to see her. She's immensely special to me.
Well, I know Booger Ray's okay. They always assign a helper to watch just him so he doesn't misbehave or break something.
Okay, Hezekiah, you go check on your sister, and Billy, you can go wash your hands and give everyone a cup.
Okay.